I'm Ah Lai, 16 years old, living in Kowloon, Hong Kong. Life was pretty normal. School, hanging out with friends, the usual. But then my dad dropped a bombshell. He was getting remarried. Everything started to feel off after that. My dad, everyone calls him Wah, runs a small trading business. We aren't rich, but we're comfortable enough. We live in an old apartment building in Kowloon. The walls are a little damp, especially during the rainy season, and sometimes the paint flakes off. Still, our place is cozy. My dad's a simple guy, happy with the basics. After a long day at work, he'd sit down with a cup of tea and watch some TV. That was our routine. He's been single ever since my mom passed away when I was little. He never talked much about finding someone new, so when he told me he was getting married again, it caught me off guard. Sure, he seemed happy, but something felt weird about it. Who was this woman, and why did she show up now? Chiang was, well, perfect. Almost too perfect. She was gorgeous, way too young for my dad, with this effortless beauty. Her skin was pale, her hair was long and black, and she always dressed like she walked out of a fashion magazine. People couldn't help but notice her when she entered a room. She told us her family came from Shanghai and they moved to Hong Kong in the 1950s. She mentioned her parents were intellectuals, professors or scholars or something. It sounded impressive. She always had these stories about growing up in a well-off, cultured family. The neighbors were fascinated by her. They'd always say, "Wow, you're so lucky. What a catch." And my dad? He'd smile like the happiest man alive. But something about her made me uneasy. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Why would someone like her marry my dad? He's just an average guy. Things took a dark turn one morning. It was a regular day, just like any other. My dad drove me to school in his old Toyota, dropped me off, and headed to work. He's always been such a careful driver. He'd joke, "Better to be late than never arrive, right?" But then, around noon, I got a text from Chiang. "Your dad had an accident. Come home." I stared at the message, my stomach twisting. An accident? My dad? The careful one who drove like a snail? I ran out of class, grabbed a taxi, and rushed home. When I got there, Chiang was already crying in the living room, her face red and swollen. She told me my dad had lost control of the car while driving on a mountain road. The brakes failed, she said. There was nothing anyone could do. I sat there, numb. My dad, gone? Just like that? It didn't make sense. He was always so cautious. How could this happen? But the police didn't find anything suspicious. It was ruled as an unfortunate accident. Chiang's sobs filled the room, but something about them felt wrong. It was like she was putting on an act, like she wasn't really sad. But I had no proof, no reason to doubt her, just this gnawing feeling that wouldn't go away. After the accident, everything felt off. The house was too quiet without my dad around. Chiang tried to fill the space. She'd cook, clean, take care of me, and even take me out shopping in Mongkok. She acted like a perfect stepmom, but then the dream started. Every night it was the same. I was standing in a dark room, and in the middle was a fire pit, flames flickering, casting shadows everywhere. In the fire was a paper doll, shaped like me. Chiang was there too, standing by the fire, chanting something under her breath. Her face, twisted into this unsettling smile. I'd try to scream, to stop her, but my voice wouldn't work. It was like I was frozen, stuck in place, forced to watch. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my whole body heavy and exhausted. At first I thought it was just the stress. After all, losing my dad was a lot to handle. But the dreams kept coming, every night, and they felt more and more real. One night, I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen for a drink. As I walked past Chiang's room, I heard something strange, a low murmuring, like chanting. My heart started racing. What was she doing in the middle of the night? I peeked through the crack in the door, and what I saw made me stop cold. Chiang was kneeling on the floor, holding a piece of yellow paper covered in strange symbols. In front of her was a fire, burning a paper doll. And that doll, it looked just like me. I backed away slowly, not making a sound, and rushed back to my room. My mind was spinning. What had I just seen? This wasn't some kind of late-night prayer. This was something dark, something dangerous. The next day, when she was out, I searched her room. Under her bed, I found a locked box. Inside were old books, yellowed papers, and more of those paper dolls. One book caught my eye. It was titled Soul Transfer Rituals. As I read through it, my stomach dropped. The book detailed an ancient ritual to transfer someone's soul into a younger body. But the body would only last for 10 years before the process had to be repeated. That's why Cheong still looked so young. She had been doing this over and over for years, moving from one body to the next. And now she wanted mine. Suddenly everything made sense. My dad's death wasn't an accident. She had planned it. She married him to get close to me. She didn't care about him at all. She just needed a way to steal my body. I couldn't stay here. I had to leave, and fast. That night I packed a bag, planning to run away the next morning. But as I quietly made my way to the door, Cheong was already there, standing in the hallway, her face half hidden in the shadows. "Going somewhere, Alai?" she asked softly. I froze. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to do. "You know, don't you?" she said, stepping closer. It was only a matter of time. I took a step back, my throat dry. What did you do to my dad?" Her smile widened. "He was in the way. I needed your body, Alai. And now, it's time." I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. It was like I was paralyzed. She started chanting, her voice growing louder, and everything around me began to blur. I felt like I was being pulled away, sinking into the dark. When I woke up, everything felt wrong. My head was spinning, and my limbs felt heavy. I forced myself up and stumbled to the mirror, and the face staring back at me wasn't mine. It was Cheong's. I stared at my reflection, touching my face, trying to make sense of what had happened. I wasn't in my body anymore. I was in hers. I turned around, and there, standing in the doorway, was my old body. But it wasn't me. It was her. She smiled, smug and satisfied. "Thanks, Alai," she said, her voice smooth. "Your body suits me perfectly." I collapsed, the truth hitting me hard. She had taken everything, my life, my future, my body, and now I was trapped in this old decaying shell while she lived on as me. I would never get my life back. She had won.